Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something really intense, the incredible risks, the mechanics, and just the sheer bravery behind how news actually reaches us from conflict zones. Throughout history, journalists working in these high-stakes environments have faced extraordinary dangers, often at a devastating personal cost, just to keep the rest of us informed. I want you to really put yourself in their shoes for a second. Imagine risking your life simply to document reality. Picture trying to report the unvarnished truth while bullets are literally flying over your head. A camera doesn't give you some invisible force field. Actually, in these zones, it often paints a giant target right on your back. So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover defining occupied territories, the journalist's mission, facing extraordinary risks, the challenge of truth, and wrap up with your responsibility as a viewer. Let's get right to it. Section 1. Defining occupied territories. We need to establish exactly what kind of environment these reporters are actually walking into. Under international humanitarian law, an occupied territory is generally understood as an area placed under the authority of a foreign military during an armed conflict. And this definition is absolutely crucial. Why? Because a military occupation doesn't just mean a new flag flying over a government building. It drastically alters every single aspect of civilian life. Look at this list. This brilliantly illustrates why journalists are so necessary in these zones. Occupation affects movement, healthcare, education, infrastructure, and of course, access to information. Journalists are the ones on the ground documenting the daily reality of these restrictions. Without them, these struggles would remain completely invisible to the outside world. Let me really emphasize the danger of an information vacuum here. When journalists can't report freely, rumors spread like wildfire. Without reporters documenting the facts on the ground, the world is left with nothing but propaganda and speculation. Civilians lose their voice, making independent reporting literally the only reliable bridge to the truth. Section 2. The journalist's mission. So, what exactly is the critical mission these folks are taking on in such perilous conditions? Well, their mission goes way beyond just snapping dramatic photos. They're documenting events in real time and recording possible human rights violations. They're giving regular civilians a voice. Plus, they provide hard evidence that historians and investigators might use years down the line. They even help humanitarian groups figure out the exact conditions on the ground. At the end of the day, they shape public understanding and inform the policymakers. Section 3. Facing extraordinary risks. Let's look at the staggering, multidimensional threats journalists have to navigate just to do their jobs. When you break it down, the danger isn't just physical crossfire, though obviously airstrikes, snipers, and landmines are terrifyingly real. But look at the digital surveillance piece. Modern conflicts involve phone monitoring, internet shutdowns, and GPS tracking. Protecting your sources is harder than ever. And we absolutely cannot ignore the psychological trauma. Witnessing horrific violence day in and day out leaves deep scars, burnout, anxiety, and severe PTSD that linger long after the war ends. And beyond the battlefield hazards, there are massive systemic hurdles. Reporters constantly face the threat of temporary detention, aggressive interrogations, and having their vital equipment confiscated. Press freedom organizations have documented case after case of journalists facing intimidation or having their movement restricted by authorities citing security reasons. Because of these restrictions, just getting to the story is a monumental struggle. We're talking about blocked access to hospitals, border crossings, military zones, and remote communities. These blockades create an immense hurdle. It makes independent verification of facts almost impossible when you physically can't get to the scene of the event. Section 4. The challenge of truth. This brings us to the rigorous, honestly chaotic process of actually confirming information in the fog of war. Conflict creates an environment where misinformation thrives. So how do you fight that? By sticking to a strict methodology. Responsible journalists verify multiple sources, confirm locations, check timestamps, and even compare satellite imagery when they can get it. They have to carefully separate verified facts from unconfirmed claims, because in a conflict zone, good journalism must value absolute accuracy over speed, every single time. Now, the crucial point here is the massive friction between international law and reality. On paper, under international humanitarian law, journalists on professional missions are considered civilians. They're supposed to be protected. But the grim reality? Those legal protections don't always stop a bullet or prevent harm on the ground. Implementation is, without a doubt, one of the greatest challenges in modern conflict. Section 5. Your responsibility as a viewer. Finally, we're transitioning from the dangers over there to the responsibility right here on your own screens. As consumers of this hard-won information, we have a job to do too. Before you hit share on that viral video, you really need to hit pause. Run through this critical checklist. Check multiple reliable sources. Look for the broader context. Distinguish verified reporting from someone's opinion. And remember that early reports in the chaos of war often get corrected later. Applying this checklist is a total game changer for stopping the dangerous spread of misinformation. They say truth is the first casualty of war. The people who risk their lives to document it remind us exactly why independent journalism is so essential for transparency and accountability worldwide. Their mission is to preserve evidence for history itself. So, knowing the incredible life-threatening lengths they go to for accurate reporting, the final question I want to leave you with is this: what role will you play in safeguarding